former Biden spokesperson who got out of there before she had to sell a genocide, which is smart on her
also
part.
Oddly enough, she didn't end up being the worst Biden spokesperson. She did get out at the right time, right?
Exactly. She got out of there just at the right time. I'll let Karine Jean-Pierre do the Gaza stuff. But here she is talking to Zohran, and this whole interview, I just think like we are very lucky to have Zohran. And I also think DSA can produce these people. The point is, are they going to be suppressed by our political establishment? And hopefully this we've seen the limits of their ability to do that. But here's Zohran with Jen Psaki.
As I'm sure you know, you probably haven't consumed all of it, I suppose, but there's been a lot of analysis, a ton, on what your success last night and in the last couple of weeks means nationally for the Democratic Party. Unquestionably, it means something about how people campaign, but what do you think it means?
I think it is part of a larger referendum on where our party goes. And I think one of the hopes that we had from the very beginning of this campaign was to move our political instinct from lecturing to listening. You know, at the national level, after the presidential election, we saw that New York was actually the state with the largest swing in the country towards Donald Trump, 11.5 points, and that swing took place far from the caricature of Trump voters, instead taking place in the hearts of immigrant New York City. And I went to those neighborhoods. I went to Fordham Road in the Bronx and Hillside Avenue in Queens, and I asked those New Yorkers, the vast majority of whom were Democrats, why they voted for Trump and what it would take to bring them back to the Democratic Party. And again, what I heard from them was cost of living, was an inability to afford the very things they recalled being able to purchase 4 years ago. And when they told me what it would take, they said again and again, a relentless focus on an economic agenda. And ultimately, in listening to them, we built a campaign that was explicitly about making this city affordable. And I think too often in politics, there's a desire to impose what you think the debate is upon the people that you're seeking to represent, as opposed to listening to the very issues that are making it difficult for them to keep calling the city that they love the city that they live in.
I just want to pause it there. It is so dangerous that it took this sort of action to interpret the shift. And instead, the interpretation that the media wanted to go with was, oh, even the immigrants like Trump's border crackdown. No, it was because people can't afford their fucking rent. And it should have been so obvious, but we have a media that is sort of basically constituted to ignore those sorts of realities.
Right.
I mean, you are running on issues that are very relevant to people in New York City, the cost of housing, free busing. Some have projected, that this is the type of platform that would work in other parts of the country. I mean, you're a proud democratic socialist. Do you think that is a platform that would work for other candidates running in other parts of the country?
Absolutely. I think ultimately this is a campaign about inequality. And you don't have to live in the most expensive city in the country to have experienced that inequality, because it's a national issue. And what Americans coast to coast are looking for are people who will fight for them, not just believe in the things that resonate with their lives, but actually fight and deliver on those very things. And part of how we got to this point was through the endorsements of Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and Senator Bernie Sanders, who've been leading this fight against oligarchy across the country. And I think that in focusing on working people and their struggles, we also return back to what makes so many of us proud to be Democrats in the first place.
Let's talk a little bit about the path forward here, because you still have to win a general election, and that is going to be hard fought, which I know you know. You were on track to defeat Andrew Cuomo. He called you to concede. Afterwards, a couple of times, he seems to have floated this potential plan or consideration of running as an independent. Are you preparing for him to run as an independent in the general election, or do you think it's possible he could drop out entirely before next Tuesday?
I think that everything is possible in this race, as we've seen over many, many months. And ultimately, we are prepared for taking on whomever our opponents may be in November. Because when I started this race, I started it running against Eric Adams' second term, running to finally have a city government that sought to resolve the affordability crisis, not exacerbate it. And when Eric Adams dropped out of the Democratic primary, it was Andrew Cuomo that picked up the mantle of that second term. The same donors, the same corruption, the same small vision funded by big money. And we have now defeated that vision in this primary, and I'm prepared to defeat that vision in the general, no matter who it is that's carrying it.
He's good. He's good.
Such a great answer. always impressed by the way he's able to answer these kinds of questions in ways that don't, just reframe them. Things that we're always asking Democrats to do, like just don't concede the narrative, don't concede the framing, don't concede every, underlying point Republicans have set out for you that ultimately just end up like illegitimizing whatever point you're going to make in the future.
Right. It's also very smart tying Eric Adams and Cuomo together over and over again that way to people who might not look at it that way, even though it's true, obviously, because look at how people came out to stop Andrew Cuomo in the primary. Let's repeat that again in the fall and stop the Andrew Cuomo of the general election, Eric Adams.
Yeah, and also like tying him to Donald Trump, because I got some of those like anti-Andrew Cuomo ads and saw how willing he was to say Cuomo is another Trump, like use Trump's image in contrast to a Democratic candidate as a negative. And, I think that's going to be incredibly important going forward, especially as, Democrats might, find themselves like John Fetterman, allied with Trump a lot more and being needed to be primaried.
Hey, folks, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and check out our daily show. We do it every day at 12 p.m. Eastern for about 2.5 hours. We even take phone calls. You should check that out.